the mic this morning. So, good morning, everybody. Look at these beautiful faces out here. Anybody ever says a cross thing to you this week, you know what you're going to tell them? I'm beautiful. That's it. I think I'll get this out of here, maybe not. Okay, we're going to play a game this morning. I hope you're all on top of your game. Come on. In my pocket, I have a $20 bill. Okay? Now, I've been doing this for 35 years this month. So, I thought we could play a game because I was in 1983 and there were certain things that were done certain ways in 1983. Some of you may remember, some of you may not. There are things when I first arrived here in 1998 to be the minister of the church that you would never have ever seen me do that I'm up here in front of you doing. So, the challenge for you is to figure out what I do this morning that I wouldn't have done in 1998, 20 years ago. And the person who gets them gets the $20. Okay. Now, I know you're going to notice a few things. And so as I go along and as I talk about things and do things, you can pay attention to what you don't think I would have done or know for a fact that I wouldn't have done 20 years ago. Because I've changed. The last year I have been spending down in sabbatical with God. No interruptions. None. I didn't allow it, and that was really interesting to watch people's response to that because I'm the minister, I'm supposed to be there all the time. So I was taking text, no calls. That was it. I demanded that this time be with God and it be uninterrupted. And it has paid off, big time. But more about that later. So, that's the game we're going to play. And I know someone in this room is going to win that $20 because you guys are really observant. And even if you weren't, if you stop and think about the changes that have happened along the way with ministers and how church is presented and how it's done, you'll come up with some things. So, a defining moment. The reason I use the word a is because as far as I'm concerned, there is no one defining moment. Your life is filled with choice. Your life is filled with moments that define you. And one of the things that we teach that I am here for, I'm in over my head for, is our choices and how we make them. So, the dictionary says a defining moment is a point at which the essential nature or character of a person, a group, etc., is revealed and defined. So here's what I'd like you to do. While I'm talking, I want you to think about defining moments, but I want you to think about the word choice. Because that's one of the things we teach that I always tell people we have a choice. As a hospital chaplain for 35 years and doing 12 years here for Mesilla Valley Hospice, there have been choices that people have had to make, and I've been there to help them make those choices. Sometimes it was nothing more than a prayer. Yes. Sometimes it was nothing more than a wish. And always, it was a difficult time for someone. So I'm used to difficult times. But you know what's really good about difficult times? Ralph Waldo Emerson said, bad times have a scientific value. These are occasions a good learner would not miss. So I'm going to share a story with you. It's a personal story. It's in some ways pretty personal, very personal. I was in my early 20s. I was living in Abilene, Texas, with my husband, Michael Rice, and my daughter, who was about a year old, Debbie Rice. And at that time, guys, I was a hairdresser. And I was new in the shop that I was in, and it was the beginning of December, and I'm going to tell you the next piece of information was important. There was no money for Christmas. There was no money for Mom, Dad, or Debbie. There was no money for extra food. There was no money. Now, I don't consider myself a poor person, nor have I ever considered myself a poor person, because my first relationship has always been with God, or as I say now, Spirit. That's been first and primary, always. And so one night, there's a knock on the door. We're living in an apartment in the middle of town, and there's a knock on the door, and I open the door, and it's my neighbor from across the hall. So across the hall from me is living Wayne, who's standing at the door, his wife, and their baby, who is younger than Debbie. And I was kind of surprised to see him, so I asked him what was up, and he said, I want to talk to you. I said, okay, fine. So he came in, and I closed the door, and I didn't ask him to sit down, and I didn't sit down either. I said, what's up? And he starts into this thing, which didn't start out making a whole lot of sense to me when he started talking to me, but it began to make sense to me as he continued. The basis of the story was that he was there to offer his sexual services to me. And I just stood and listened. He became so uncomfortable with the fact that I didn't respond in any way to him that he started talking. Anybody who listens to people will know silence is really an amazing revealer. People just start talking. And as I'm standing there looking at him, two things dawn on me immediately. Number one, I could go the right way, or I could go the other way. That's the first thought I had. The second thought I had was, what's your choice, Bonnie? And as you listen to the story, you'll see what my choice was. And as I'm standing there listening to him and thinking these things, I think to myself, the choice is to do the right thing. The choice is to do the right thing. And as I'm still not saying anything to him, and he continues to go on and on and on, it suddenly dawns on me that he has another piece of information that he hasn't shared with me. He's seen my husband with another woman. That's why he feels that he can come and say to me what he's saying to me, because I've never encouraged him. So not only do I have somebody propositioning me, but I also have the realization that something's going on with my husband. So while I know that I'm going to do the right thing, in that moment of my choices, what's my other choice? Do I treat this as if I'm being attacked, or do I treat it as a learning experience? And my choice was to do the right thing and treat this as a learning experience. Walt Whitman says, either define the moment or the moment will define you. So, I'm standing there looking at this gentleman and thinking to myself, reminds me of that song, what are the lyrics? Understand, understand, he's a magic man. And I'm looking at him and thinking, at a spiritual level, what is it he thinks he's really offering me? Everything has a spiritual component. I don't care how you observe it. I don't care how bad it looks. It's a learning experience. And so I added coin to the learning experience by observing what was being said to me, thinking about what was being said to me, and what was I going to learn here? Not only something about myself, but something about him. This is not a one-way conversation, although at that point it had been. So I looked at him and I said, thank you for thinking of me. But the answer, of course, is no. That's my choice. But the way to look at him is that he is also a child of God, seeking something that he doesn't think he has. And my husband is also a child of God, seeking something he doesn't think he has either. And I'm the one in the middle. Well, and so we went on from there. Life continued on. Was I human? Yeah. So I'll tell you about my humanness. So after Wayne left, I closed the door, locked the door, went over to the mantle that had a picture of Michael on it, and I picked up the picture and I smashed it and then dropped it and left it all sitting there for him to see when he came through the door. Now, if he didn't know what was going on, or that I might know about this, he would have known then. I was pissed. So, I always allow the human to be present with me. I am a human being. I do hurt. I bleed when I'm cut. And, I'm just like everybody else. I don't deny that. What makes it different for me is not that I'm a minister necessarily, or that I'm a practitioner, or that I'm a chaplain. Those are my experiences. What makes it different for me is, what is my choice? Do I choose to take this at face value and react at human level only? Or do I choose to look at something, listen to it, and think about what's being said to me? In chaplaincy, they call it getting in the boat and rowing with someone. That's what you do. That's how you show your caring for yourself and for others. If we really believe that there's only one, then I'm not looking at the enemy. I'm not looking at a stranger. I am not looking at someone. I could think I don't understand it, except that I've been in situations in which I've gone in after a friend that I had to put in 72-hour lockup, and sat with her in a cage the size of this room with all the patients. And I sat there and talked to people and heard the most amazing stories. And I thought at the time everybody was talking to me from an alternate level. So I had no trouble listening to the stories or thinking about what that supposedly crazy person was saying to me. We're all one. Do we believe it? I choose to believe it. When I go out walking in the morning at 5:30, 5:15, 5 o'clock, I'm in the middle of a natural sanctuary. And I go walking, then I walk down by the river in the bosque. I see the coyotes. Sometimes we talk. Oh! I see the rabbits, and I see all the other animals that are there. And every morning, I give them a blessing of the day. The birds, the owls, the woodpeckers who are in the tree having babies. I mean, it doesn't matter. And I would do the same as I'm walking along. It's my choice to think of everyone as one, no matter how they think of themselves. It doesn't matter. That will be with me for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter what my title is. My choice is to be there. I was asked when I did my residency at UCLA Medical Center, and I was asked by my supervisor if I wanted to go and become a supervisor. And I said, no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to be with the people. I'm here to support and nurture and sustain people right where they are, because that's my choice. Now think about a defining moment in your life. Good, bad, indifferent, I don't care. Think about a defining moment. And think about the choice you made in that moment that defined that moment for you. That kind of moment. The author, Jeffrey Archer, says, there are defining moments in one's life when you learn about yourself and you deposit that knowledge in the experience account. So you can draw on it at some later date. So let me finish the story about the betrayal. Okay, so we had no money, and so this was all over. I'd made my decision and went on about my life. And the following week, we had a hairdressers meeting of all the hairdressers in the community, and we would get together once a month. I go in. Turns out they're taking the whole collection, and they're giving it to somebody who's a hairdresser. I got it. It was not a whole huge amount of money, but it was enough to pay for Christmas. What I've discovered is that when I'm in balance and alignment with the universe, and that's all I care about experiencing now, is that I'm in that balance. When I go for a walk, I'm wide open to all of the energy of the universe. It's in balance. We're in balance. I'm in balance. Spirit is present with me at all times. That's the way it is. So I have discovered over the years that my choices bring results. You may have noticed that yourself. Can anybody here say they haven't noticed that their choices have brought results? Good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't make any difference. You learn from them. You are a person who comes with an account. It's a choice account. You want to put your money in the account. Put your money in the choice. Put your money in what is going to work for you. And it doesn't matter how that alignment comes. It does come through experience. It comes through every experience you've ever had. So, I want you to think about your defining moment, because it's not the only one. There have been other defining moments, but you know what? They were so fast and so quick, and you knew which account you were going into, so you went there with no trouble at all. A lot of this defining moment happens when you're younger, and then when you're in your 20s and in your 30s, by the time you get to be my age, you have quite a list of experiences, and there's a lot of experiences in the account that help me make decisions. When you're younger, it's a different story. How many times have we watched our kids make mistakes? How many times have we watched our elderly parents make mistakes? Especially when they can't remember anything, when they're having trouble remembering your name. So always there's that going on, and you want to be in a place where you remember how it went until it becomes second nature, until it becomes that second nature of who you are and how you share your life with others. Personally, how do you forgive people who've harmed you? What's your choice? How do you forgive the person who really did you serious damage? What's your choice? These are things that we teach because many people come to us to learn them because they haven't learned them, and they haven't been like the farmer out watching the land. What grows, what doesn't grow? What comes up, what doesn't come up? What do I plant? What came up? What do I do to help this grow? What do you do to help yourself grow? Some of those questions are answered when you're very young. Some of them aren't answered until you're older. But always there's an answer in your choice. And as you go along, if you make the wrong choice, drop it. You made the wrong choice. It doesn't need to hang on your soul for the rest of your life. When I'm talking to people who are dying, what do you suppose they're telling me? Well, one of the things they always tell me is this. They always tell me their woo-woo stories because they figure if I think they're crazy, they're not going to be around long enough to worry about it, you know? They're gone. Oh, I can share all these really wonderful, strange stories, and this chaplain's going to have to listen to me. So you listen and you go, it's a wonderful world when you can have these experiences, but you can talk about them. Or somebody's not ready to die. Oh, how many of you have had changes in your life that you weren't ready to let go of the past? Oops, let go. That's the first message I got on my sabbatical. Let it go. Let it all go. I had an interesting experience one morning on the bike path. I'm walking along, watching the sun coming up over the East Mountains, the daybreak, and all of a sudden my inner voice goes, let go of everything. Okay. Let go of your purpose-filled life. And I stopped, and I went, what? That's what's driving my life. How can I drop it? Let it go. There's times when you come along to something and the level at which you go and you realize you have to let go of it, for you in that moment may be facing death. I can't let go of this. But if you sit with it, well, immediately I became Job on the wrestling floor with God, and we went through that for a couple of months. And that was fine because I finally came to the point where I understood what it meant. And it had nothing to do with death and everything to do with being alive. Everything to do with being alive. And it's okay. I have yet to be asked by Spirit to do anything that it didn't turn out that was exactly what I needed to do. Never. So my relationship with Spirit has changed, but it is still there, and so is yours. Allow the change. welcome the change. Even if you don't think it's a good thing, I want you to welcome it and know that there's nothing that you can do that in the long run you are not learning from. And so it is. Let's